We are back outside heading to the freezers for our last day of grabbing something out of them to preserve. We only have a couple more berry varieties left to grab, one of them being blueberries. We thought we picked a lot of blueberries this last year, but I don't think we can ever have enough of them. In the freezer, we have 2 full gallon bags of blueberries, and then we also have this one partial. This partial we are going to leave in the freezer because we do very much so enjoy being able to grab some to add to pancakes or muffins or anything like that. So we definitely want to keep some. We still have quite a few months left before it's going to be berry season again. We do not want to use them all up right now. We also have some more watermelon berries. The jelly that we made out of these last summer is actually one of our favorites. So we want to take the rest of this and just do the same exact thing again. And then lastly, we have a partial bag of red raspberries. So we're going to bring these inside and get to cooking. We are going to start with the blueberries. So I'm going to get 1 bag in our Dutch oven, start cooking it down. We're going to start with some syrup. They just look too good not to eat. We're going to end up doing the same thing with these blueberries that we did with the raspberries the day before. We are going to save the pulp from the syrup and use that in some blueberry jam that we're going to make with the other bag of blueberries. And I am very much intentionally wearing all black today because otherwise I'm going to stain everything blue. We have been making a pretty good dent in all of our empty jars that we have stored away in boxes. We've completely emptied 2 boxes worth of empty jars and we are on to our 3rd. That one is also already almost emptied. And I pulled out all of the small jars that we have left to use for these jams and jellies. And honestly, we do not have very many to pick from. So this is about all that we have left in terms of jars that are smaller than a pint. These ones back here, I'm pretty sure these are a pint, or not a pint and a half, 3/4 pint. I'm not sure. We only have 2 of them. But yeah, so these next few batches we do are going to be a little bit more jumbled where the whole batch might not all be in the same size jar. We do have a lot more jars that are up in the loft. They're just ones that are still in the boxes when we bought them. We just haven't used them yet, whereas a lot of these have already been used at least once or twice. And we definitely have a lot more pints and quarts. We didn't really focus on getting a lot more of these smaller jars just because we didn't really think that we'd use that many of them. But now that we're kind of in the zone of trying to try all the different things, do different, we'll take 1 berry and do 3 different things with it, we're ending up with a lot of these jars being used. And then if we want to go down the route of doing condiments and stuff, these smaller jars are kind of what we want to be putting them in. So I think we are going to have to start looking around and picking up some more of these small jars. I think for the blueberry, we're going to try to put the jam. We like these ones the best, the half pints that are a little bit taller. I think our goal is to get the blueberry jam started off in here, and then we will put the blueberry syrup in some of these shorter ones. And then at the end of it, if we run out of jars and you see us putting them in pints, this is why, because we ran out of the small ones. Ooh. Try some. Is it num num? Should we dish some up for you? You want to eat some? So now that these are warmed up and softened a little bit, I'm just kind of mashing them with the spatula. We're going to get it up to that boil. We're going to get it up to that boil, and then we're going to strain it to get that juice out. All right, we had lunch. An outfit change. Honestly, she's ready for another outfit change. And I think we are finally ready to start straining these blueberries. I am home alone with Rowan right now, so it might be a little bit distracted. It might take us a little bit longer to get this done, but there's no problem with that. It's just going to be probably... Yes. The plan is to strain all of this, keep the juice, bring it back over to syrup, the pulp and the berries, and any little extra. I'm not going to be too picky about getting all of the juice, so any extra juice in there is going to be saved to go in with our jam. We're going to go get our ladle, and we're going to kind of just slowly bring it all over. Ooh, that's a deep, pretty color. There is all of our juice, and then we are going to get this back up to temperature and add 3 cups of sugar. Now, I'll tell you what, these blueberries would make an amazing, like, fabric dye if you want anything to be this color. So I didn't think we'd have enough of these smaller jars to finish this, but now that I'm starting to fill them, we might. When we first moved to Alaska, I actually was not a fan of blueberries. But since being here and eating them, I actually like them a lot. I think they are so good, so much better than any of the other blueberries I've eaten before. They're also way more blue because the inside of them is all blue instead of just the outside skins. $11 jars. Opposite of a baker's dozen. It's 1 shy instead of 1 extra. Mm-hmm. Is there a name for that? Probably not. 11. Failure. A failure. 11.
Going to reuse this Dutch oven that we just did the syrup in. It's starting to get a little sticky, that syrup, but we're going to add in all of our blueberries for our next batch, which we're going to be making jam. And we're going to start with just putting in the excess from our syrup. That is a lot of blueberries. So we're going to have this cooked down for a while, and our canner is working on the syrup. Once these cook down a bit, we'll start adding the sugar and whatever else we need.
My plan is to immersion blend this before we get it in our jars. So we're actually going to shift gears right now because Rowan is sleeping and I'm pretty sure that's going to wake her up. And we are going to get started on raspberry jam in the meantime. So we're just gonna let these heat up for a little bit, and then we're just gonna add super simple, add some pectin, add some sugar, and then get them in jars. This raspberry seems to be mostly thawed out and warming up, so we're gonna add some of the fruit pectin right now. And we are just going to use the same stuff that has blueberry on it. It's not going to be that big of a deal. I don't think there's any sense in washing it between the blueberry to the raspberry back to the blueberry again. She is definitely awake. Hi. Hi. We can't touch it, they're hot. Our raspberries are all finished and jarred up, so now we are going to move back to our blueberries since Rowan is awake. The first thing I'm going to do is run my immersion blender through it just to kind of break up all those blueberries. I think I'm going to be cleaning up berry splatters for the next few days because there's just random drops everywhere. Yeah, I splattered it. This one's a really fine blueberry mist, but I don't think I got any on the tongue and groove. Alright, That blended up actually super smooth. The immersion blender definitely works better on things that are more liquidy. It doesn't quite get them as smooth if it's already a thick, chunky substance. But it's looking pretty good. We're going to add the fruit pectin powder, get it back up to the boil, add our sugar, boil again, and then jar it. You should know the drill by now. So I bought a bulk bag of fruit pectin powder a little while back, and I use these little wooden spoons, are about a teaspoon each. So I figure if I do a heaping spoonful, that's about 1 tablespoon. I don't know how accurate that is. And since this powder is just a little bit older, I think it's 2 or 3 years old now, I'm just throwing in an extra good old heaping spoonful every time. So you want to do 6, but I'm going to throw in 7 heaping spoonfuls. I can't believe it asks 4.5 cups berries. It wants 7 cups of sugar. That's insane. I don't know how many berries, like cups of berries we put in here, but it was way more than 4.5 cups. Okay, this might be wrong, but I just realized that the recipe I'm looking at calls for 4.5 cups of blueberries, and this is most definitely more than 4.5 cups of blueberries. It is double, if not triple or quadruple that, and I only put in basically 1 packet worth, and the recipe for 4.5 cups of berries calls for 2 packets of pectin. So I need to put in a lot more of this. We're already back up to a boil, so I'm just going to kind of sprinkle in about 7 more tablespoons, and we'll see how it goes. The reason I like to put it in when it's cold is just because it kind of keeps it from clumping up a little bit better. Whereas when you're adding dry ingredients to hot, it kind of just clumps right away. So I'm just going to do it slowly, try to spread it out a bunch, stir it in between each one to just try to prevent it from clumping up. Okay, now we have extra pectin in here. It's back up to that boil. Now we're going to add our sugar. And for this big of a batch, I think we are going to do 4 cups of sugar. I keep a 1/2 cup measuring in my sugar, so which means we need to do 8 scoops. And then we just need to get it back up to that hard boil. Leave it there for about a minute. I think I'm going to change the name of this from blueberry jam to a hybrid blueberry jam jelly. Since I immersion blended it, it's pretty thin, but it should taste pretty good still. I think all of these are going to taste good. It's such a dark color. I'm about to get the raspberry jam going in the water bath canner, but I have space for at least 1 more of these jars. So I'm going to get the lid and band on it right away because then I can fit it in. Oof. This is going to make a lot. I think we're only about halfway right now. And we've done 8. Not a bad thing, though. All right, if anyone can explain to me why sometimes certain bands just do not go on certain jars, I'd love to hear it. Because it kind of drives me crazy. Ultimately, I'm guessing it just has something to do with newer made jars versus older made ones. And their bands, of course. So we've got the raspberry and blueberry jam going in the canner. If I counted correctly, we have 13 blueberry jam jars or hybrid jam jars down on the floor waiting to go. And then we got our red Dutch oven back on the stove because it is time for our final bag of berries. And that is watermelon berries. So here they are. We made watermelon berry jelly last summer and we liked it so much. So that is exactly what we're going to do with these again now. It's one of those that you kind of have to trust the process because when you're cooking it down and you're straining it, the smell and the appearance is just tomato juice. It's super weird, but as soon as you add the sugar, it brightens up. It looks super beautiful. We've decided that it tastes exactly like watermelon Jolly Ranchers. So if you've had that before, you know what it tastes like. So we are going to get these berries thrown in this Dutch oven, cook them down. We need to strain them. The seeds kind of act as a laxative. So if you're eating the berries whole, it's completely edible. But if you're eating the berries whole, you definitely want to make sure that you're a little bit more conservative with eating them. But we're going to strain all of that stuff out so we don't have to worry about it. So we had our raspberries in here earlier. That's totally fine. So there might be a few stems in there, but like I said, we're going to be straining all of that out. The berries themselves, we decided we don't like them. They're very slimy. They're not very good. They're very slimy, not very pleasant to be eating. A lot of the times I see that people say that the best time to eat them is when they're super, super dark, late season. But personally, we found that early season, we liked the texture and the taste and the flavor a little bit better. So when they're still kind of yellowy orange and not just a deep, deep dark red. But for making the jelly, it does not matter if it's early or late. Any of the berries, I think they turn out the same way. So I'm going to get the cover on these just so they kind of steam up and warm up a little bit quicker. These are softened, so I'm going to start just kind of popping some of the berries by squishing them against the side of the bowl. The seeds inside of these are similar to like a sesame seed, I would say. Let's see if I can get one to kind of pop open. Yeah, so like the seeds are pretty big and they're kind of just filled with slime. If you can't tell, we've kind of hit our end on the small jars, so this one's going to be a little bit more of the mishmash. I'm just finishing up writing on the lids of all of these jars. We ended up with 36 jams, jellies, and syrups in total on this day 2 of berry making. There's not much of a difference between the 4 different types because they're all kind of just a dark red and purple color. But we ended up with 11 blueberry syrups, 15 of the blueberry jam / jelly hybrid that we made, 7 raspberry, and then we only got 3 of the watermelon berry. We're still kind of just on that mission of taking all the berries, trying them in a whole bunch of different ways to see what we like best. And then in the future, when we determine what we like best, we can just focus on those ones instead of doing a whole bunch of different methods. But in the meantime, it is super fun experimenting and just kind of trying all the things. If you haven't been following along, we just went through and did a whole week where every single day we took something out of our freezers, brought it into the kitchen, and then preserved it up to get onto our pantry shelves. I have my cheat sheet right here of our total list, and I thought we would just do a little overcap to kind of talk about everything that we did this last week. First off, I just want to say that we have our tally, and we did 176 jars. That is a lot of food. So as you can see, it's kind of blocking our access right now to our other food that we have. So we need to get this overview over with so we can actually start finding a spot for all of this to sit on our shelves. So we did 176 jars. And out of all of those jars, we had 1 break, which is actually not counted. So technically it was 177. We only had the 1 jar break. And then we did have 4 lid seal failures. Now, the failures happened on some of the jam and jelly that we were preserving, and pretty much partway through that day, I started getting a really bad headache. I went upstairs, I laid down for a while, and Cody kind of took over and helped me out. Now, he doesn't have any canning experience, but he did his best. I think what happened is he didn't quite tighten the rings very tight. He was a little worried about over-tightening them because he knew that that was an issue, but it's kind of hard to tell him what to do. Like, I know by feel, and he just doesn't have that experience. So I think what happened is they were a little loose, so they just didn't quite seal properly. But that is just fine since it was just the jam and jelly. We just have those 4 jars sitting on our refrigerator, and we will just eat them first. It was a long week, but very much so worth it. We are super happy with everything that we got accomplished. So if you missed any of that, we have it in our kitchen playlist. So feel free to go check that out. Otherwise, we are kind of hoping to shift gears, take a little bit of rest on this, maybe do some more things outside now that the weather's starting to get so nice again. I also thought I would just touch really quick on our shelving situation, since we are going to have a little bit of a hard time finding a spot for all of this. Initially, we wanted to do shelves in the kitchen this winter, but once Cody hurt his wrist, and it's kind of just one of those things that's taking a long time to heal, we quickly pushed that off, and it is going to be our next winter goal. We're going to get all of the lumber milled, planed, cut, dry. It's all going to be prepped and ready to go so that when we do come into next winter, hopefully it can happen very quickly. So the shelves we are planning on having on this side of our kitchen, and they're kind of going to go in this corner. We might do a little bit of an L thing, and then we're going to have them stretch all the way across to maybe be kind of in line with the stairs, and then just ignore the mess because it's been a long day. So hopefully next winter we will see some beautiful shelves sitting right here where all of our canned goods can fit.